Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Soulful Intuitive. Today, we're going to cover a topic that is known to a lot of us, but also still unknown on a larger scale, and that is to be an empath. What does it mean to be an empath? Who do we know who's an empath, and what is it like to live life as an empath on this planet is going to be what we're going to cover. I always knew that wherever I walked in, whoever I talked to, that I would just immediately get a sense of knowing, especially when it comes to their feelings. Like, I was very young and I would come home from school and I would walk through our corridor, the entrance of our home, and I would know if something had happened that day, whether there was an argument between my family members, whether it was something pleasant or something dark. That like inner knowing, which is different from being psychic. Although the lines are blurred. A lot of empaths are psychic, but not necessarily the other way around. And you grow up with it and you think everyone's like that. And sometimes you have these feelings that you can't put words to. And it's difficult as a child. It's certainly more difficult as you get older because you don't want, as an adult, to be judged by other adults, so you keep it to yourself. And for many, many years, I didn't even know what it was called until somebody put a name to it. And as soon as I knew the name, I started looking into it. And I started reading up on it. I started educating myself about this quality that I was born with. So let's cover the topic of being an empath. So you're an empath if you are sitting next to a total stranger on the bus or on a train, and all of a sudden you absorb all of their feelings. If they're sad, you're going to feel sad. If they're happy, you're going to be happy. If they're stressed, you're going to be stressed. You're an empath if you're walking into a place and all of a sudden you want to get out because the energy's off and you can't explain it. You're an empath if you're experiencing mood swings, but for no reason, because you're avoiding places full of people and people think that you're antisocial, and not all of us are antisocial. But when you're surrounded by a lot of people, you're getting a lot of signals, and that could be overwhelming. You're an empath if people call you emotional and not in the most positive sense. You're an empath if you get overwhelmed by all these feelings that you feel and you want to seek refuge in your own solitude, in your own home, because it's safer when you have walls around you and no one else within those walls, because then you can concentrate on you and your own feelings. So my journey on how to deal with my gift as an empath was a long journey, and it's an ongoing journey like most empaths. And to protect yourself and to also give your gifts, the gift of being an empath, wings to fly is not an easy task, because we need to protect ourselves. We need to know the difference between our feelings and feeling of others, which in the beginning you don't even know. You just know that you're sad, you just know that you're angry, you just know that you're happy, you just know that you're excited. So that was something that I really didn't know anything about. I just knew that I wanted to spend a lot of time alone, and when I was spending time alone in nature, going for lone walks in the woods, always avoiding where there was a lot of people around. Like if there's a seawall where everybody was walking, I was always walking the exact opposite way towards where the houses were, where people didn't really want to walk by. Nonetheless, I knew that that was what I needed in order to recharge and in order to focus on my own feelings. And it particularly gets harder with our loved ones, because with our loved ones, our emotions are so infused with them, and we already have that invisible bond that the ones that we love the most, we pick up on the most. And then their feelings become part of our feelings, and then we try to either fix those feelings or feel those feelings or make sense out of them. And trust me, most of the time we can't make any sense out of them, and it just becomes a burden. So this gift comes with a lot of burden until we know how to deal with it and how to use it to our advantage and also other people's advantage. So when you read up on being an empath, they always tell you that, always envision this white light around you. Envision some metal shell around you, depending on who are you reading up on. So, but basically, you constantly have to have a barrier outside of you, like a wall of some sort, to create your boundary where other people's energy and emotions can't get through unless you want to bring it in. So you have to make that conscious decision to break that wall. And I found that it was very difficult for me to constantly walk around envisioning a shell or a wall around me. But then I think what we do is unconsciously or subconsciously, we create a wall around our heart, because that's the center of your feelings and that's your command center. And that isn't always a good way to protect yourself, because then others might perceive you as guarded or cold or unfeeling or unavailable. So it's a difficult journey. It's like most gifts, they don't come easy. To learn how to deal with it and how to operate with that ability to feel others and feel places and sort through those feelings. So this video is mainly just about what it is to be an empath. I'm not giving any steps as how to maneuver that journey, but I'm just talking about my own feelings and my own experience, having had that emotional radar inside of me that has been picking up on others' feelings and others' emotions all my life, and not knowing sometimes why you want to go sit on the roof alone and just be sad, and why do you want to hide away in an attic and just try to understand what is it that's going through your heart and your mind. But as I got older, I developed these other strategies that, for example, if I'm walking down the street or I'm in a public place, I try not to make eye contact with people, and not because I'm avoiding people, but it's because I find that when I look people straight in the eyes, I pick up on their emotions, and I'm not always ready to do that, because I meet a lot of people, and a lot of them are now my regular clients, so I'm comfortable with them and I know about their lives, and we have this boundary between us, and I can look them in the eye, I can even hug them and touch them, and I'm safe. But when it comes to strangers, I don't always do that. I try to be a little bit more collected and a little bit more to myself until I get to know them. So then I allow myself to widen my range and my walls, and slowly but surely receive what I'm picking up on them. And that's how I have been dealing with it. I'm not saying that it's the right way, it's the wrong way, but it's it also depends on what kind of an empath you are. Do you like have to touch people to feel on their emotions, or do you have to talk to them, or do you have to look at them? I'm sure it comes in different varieties, but for me, it's certainly when I look people straight in the eyes where I'm picking up their vibes, and I am also so quick to ask, okay, what's wrong, or what's going on with you today? And to my surprise, every time that this question comes up, people just tell me straight up that, oh, I just found out that I got laid off, or I just found out I just had a fight with my girlfriend, or I just got a disturbing text message from a friend of mine, and then we talk about it. And but sometimes it's depending on how big of a load of emotions that the other person's dealing with, that I find that I have to go and sage myself, or I have to just tell myself in my head and sometimes out loud that this is not my emotion, this is somebody else's emotion. And at times I have to like come and talk to my partner that somebody confided in me, and I'm just feeling really heavy. And or sometimes he picks me up from work, and then as soon as I sit in the car, he just asks me point blank, what's wrong? And then I talk, and I'm like, well, I had a rough day. Today was one of those days where everybody came in with a baggage, and I've just been going through them one after another. I also feel like spending time alone, listening to classical music for me is really healing. Listening to anything that is ballady or just has a very mild musical energy works for me. Listening to the water running, maybe on the river or by the ocean, the birds chirping, like all those natural sounds that the nature has, for me is very cleansing. Obviously, taking a bath salt, taking a long shower. Water is very cleansing in every way possible. Also, working out. Anything that makes your heart pump hard and just shifts your energy, because that's when your adrenaline and serotonin and goes up, your stress hormone comes down, and then you're able to shift, because some of these energies that we pick up, unfortunately, is stored in our muscles and is stored in different parts of our bodies depending on where your weak point is. Like for me, my weak spot has always been my lower back, so as soon as I pick up something that's a little disturbing, I start feeling lower back pain. For a lot of people I know, is their stomach. They start having stomach issues. And some people feel it in their shoulders. Some people get headaches. Some people feel it in their feet. I mean, everyone's a little different, but we all have a weak point. And I feel like it directly attaches to those areas, and then you can feel it. But the good news is, once you know that you're an empath, you are on your way to deal with it better. And the problem with empaths is we think sometimes that we're here to heal the world and to fix the world. And a good friend of mine told me point blank that, who do you think you are, and what do you think what the world was doing before you got here? So we're all here to play a part, and we also have to tell ourselves that we're not here. Our Messiah complex has to go away. we can only help as much as we can, but we need to prioritize our own health, mental health, emotional health first, because when we're flooded by all these energies and emotions that come from others, then we're not centered. And when we're not centered, we don't give the right advice. We don't receive it well. We act out in many ways, as empaths do. We start hating people. We start hating places. We start becoming more and more of a loner. We start creating these thick walls around us. Like, I have a good friend of mine. She was just basically telling me that she decided that she can't deal with others anymore, so she's never going to leave her house. And so I listened to her. I know that she's hurting, and hopefully she will find a way to deal with it. But we should realize when and just feel our heart when we feel heavy, that's a good sign for us to just step away, to spend some time alone, to talk to a friend, to just unload the way that works for us. Sometimes writing it on a piece of paper, sometimes talking to yourself, sometimes talking to someone you trust, because all you need to do is just to unload, to get it off your chest. And like the other day, I came home and I had a rough day, and I was feeling very shook up. I think that the last week was a difficult week for a lot of us. And so I came home, I was very aware that I was shook up, and I was very aware that I was dealing with others' emotions. And I was trying to do my thing, play with my cards, and read my books, and just trying to decipher what was happening. And then I decided that I'm going to give my best friend a call and have a 10 long minute of hard laughs. And it really shifted my energy. I went from feeling very shook up and very unsure and almost like borderline insecure, to just feeling myself again, to feeling centered, to feeling that I'm okay now. I'm in my own skin. I'm feeling my own feelings. And the next couple of days, there was some residual energy of that, but I dealt with it a lot better, because at first it was so strong that my normal way of dealing with it wasn't working. And it's so interesting that sometimes laughter, which has very high energy, with someone that receives you, with someone who can make you laugh, with someone who can laugh at your jokes, can do wonders. And just like that, you shift your energy. So depending on the day, depending on your mood, depending on the weight of that load, there are different strategies. And I would love to hear from other empaths, because the problem with empaths is they're usually keeping to themselves, and I think they need to step forward and start talking about it, and start just putting support groups together and helping each other, as opposed to not being vocal about their gift. They're called crazy by some of their friends and family members for feeling their feelings, and for like having that inclination to pick up on others, and also for mood swings when it's the feelings are overwhelming. So I would encourage all of us to find each other, to support each other, and also share the little ways that we all deal with it, because like I said, depending on the person and the situation, the way to deal with it is different. So there is no one recipe for all, unfortunately, according to my own personal experience. And as much as I always envision a wall around me and white light around me, it doesn't always work, depending on how deeply I connect with others and how strong their energy is, and maybe how off-centered I am that day. Then it every single time is different. But like I said, water, bathing, saging, talking, writing, a good laugh, sometimes even distraction, but mainly nature. Nature is very healing. Nature is very, it's a force that centers all of us. Almost always helps. So please let me know how you find this video, and share your stories, and any tips, any points of guidance is appreciated for all of us. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you very soon.